Hey guys, this is Jeremy. I'm down here at Library State in Congress. We're outside of Harold Washington Library. We're going to stop up to the third floor and check out the Maker Lab. Let's see how it is.
Hi, welcome to Chicago Public Library Maker Lab. We've been doing this for a couple of years now in Harold Washington Library at 400 South State on the third floor. And the original plan with this place was it was just going to be here for 6 months as a trial of a library service, and then they were going to clear everything out and try some other experimental library service. But it's been really popular, so it's still here. And it's a lot of fun being here. We get really smart people, really creative people that come in to both to take our classes and during our open shop time to use the equipment here and do projects, and it's just great seeing what people do. So we do a couple things. One is we have classes where we have a project that we walk people through step by step. They get to do some of their own design on it. We make the thing they design, it lasts 2 hours, and at the end they get to take home the thing that they designed and we made. The other thing we do is have open shop times when people come in with their own designs, and we can give them some help with the design, but mostly that's up to them for the open lab. And then the thing that they have designed we make, but we charge for the materials in the open lab. And it's still a pretty nominal charge. So like on the 3D printers, we charge $1 per half hour printing time. On the laser cutters or vinyl cutters, it depends on the type of material, the amount of material, but it's nominal. It's mainly to prevent waste. Besides the high-tech classes where we do digital design and then fabricate it, we also have craft classes and art classes where a lot of times we have outside teachers come in and teach those and do things like hula hoop making or jewelry making or flower arranging or origami. Most of the people that come through don't have any experience with the design for the classes. For the open lab it's different, but for the classes they're complete beginners with digital designs. So to take a class on their own, they should be 14 and up. And if a child or a couple children come with a parent, 10 and up. For the 3D design, a lot of times we use Tinkercad, which is dead easy to use. It's just combining shapes and making solids, or some shapes can be holes that will cut out from another shape. So conceptually it's pretty easy to wrap your mind around, and the interface is designed where you just drag the shapes in and you've got them, you can start doing stuff with them. So that's one that we use a lot because the learning curve is relatively shallow. Sometimes we do some other free software for the 3D design, like 123D Design or Sculptress. Every once in a while, we have an outside teacher come in and do a Blender class, and that one, the learning curve is significantly steeper. People can do movies, 3D movies in Blender and with the animation and everything, but you can also take the files, the 3D files, and use the output to 3D print from them. But in that class, the whole 2 hours is spent doing the design. There's no time left to do the actual printing. So yeah, we do all the software that we use in here is free software, and we use open source software where we can. For the two-dimensional design, we use Inkscape for the laser cutter and the vinyl cutter, and whenever we need to create SVGs, in some of the 3D programs, you can import an SVG and take that two-dimensional shape and extrude it. So those you could also create in Inkscape. We provide all the materials for the classes, and we have some materials available for the open shop. We depending what you want, we may not have the color you want, or if it's a specialized material, we may not have it. But we do have, so filament on the 3D printers is all from us. For the other machines, on the laser cutter, we have to be a little bit careful about safety, or, well, quite careful actually, because this room, the physical situation of this room in the building is such that we don't have outside ventilation. So the fumes from the laser cutter are not being vented outside, they are being piped into these air filters, which is a nice two-stage air filter and does a good job. But some materials, like if you try to cut vinyl, it emits chlorine gas, and we'd rather not even filter be breathing that. And it's also not good for the laser. It's corrosive on the laser. So if you're bringing in plastic, we require that you show us a receipt from either Inventables or Peterson Brothers that are both suppliers for acrylic that can be cut on the laser here in Chicago. Wood, a lot of people cut wood on the laser cutter. That we're more flexible about. Hardwood is usually works really well. With plywood, sometimes it depends on the binding material. Like some, especially exterior grade plywood, the binding material is much more combustible than the wood itself. So you end up with a very charred edge, and it's like, it can be really hard to cut, like take many passes to cut all the way through, and by the time you do cut all the way through, the edges just ruined and it's all charred away. So so if you are bringing wood, we would much prefer hardwood rather than plywood. We've cut some other materials. I had a guy bring in some alligator skin shoe leather that he wanted to engrave, and we did that. We tried cutting some leather for somebody one time, but the smell was so bad when you're cutting all the way through a piece of leather that we said, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We've done linoleum. We've done rubber. You can engrave rubber and use that for a stamp that you can stamp on an inked stamp pad. So stuff like that.
I just wanted to add to the Harold Washington Library Maker Lab experience that I had the opportunity to join a conversation with world-famous pro skateboarder Tony Hawk. While I was at the Maker Lab, I had mentioned that I had seen examples of large 3D printers that printed full-scale houses in concrete. We discussed how this technology could also be used for other infrastructures, such as skate parks. One of the area hosts at the Maker Lab had mentioned that pro skateboarder Tony Hawk would be at their One Book, One Chicago discussion. Although I can't skateboard, Tony Hawk has been a huge inspiration while I was growing up. I thought this would be a great opportunity to ask him what he thought about the maker movement, laser cutters, and 3D printers. This event was part of the Chicago Public Library's One Book, One Chicago. Our speaker of the night, Tony Hawk, talked about his foundation in which they provide grants and advice to community groups building free, safe, quality public skate parks for disadvantaged communities in all 50 states as well as all around the world, including Afghanistan, Cambodia, and South Africa. Tony shared some of his personal stories and inspirations. After the discussion, he met with the public. I was really nervous when I asked him what he had thought about 3D printers and laser cutters. He explained that these technologies help his foundation a lot. It allows them to help those communities build skate parks. He also mentioned that he has a couple of 3D printers of his own. I imagine that he does a lot of prototyping for his personal skateboards and ramps. If you ever played the Tony Hawk Pro Skater video game, you will notice that some of the features in it allow you to build your own custom skate park. Just like some of the open source software John had mentioned in my interview at the Maker Lab. These technologies make learning interactive and fun. I'm excited to see how it develops. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode. In the description, I've added some links for more info. A big thank you to everyone at Harold Washington Library and the Maker Lab. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to post them below. Also, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe.